Imagine this. What if I told you that the secret to capturing a woman's attention is to be able to take a step back? After pursuing her for weeks and making every attempt to win her over, you suddenly vanish without explanation. Calls, mails, or anything else. And what transpires next is just amazing. In this video, we'll go deeply into the psychology of attraction by refocusing your attention, Stoicism. You're not just altering the game, you're altering the whole story of your relationships. This goes beyond just in dating. It's all about using restraint and purposeful detachment. You can make a significant adjustment and pique a woman's attention by ceasing to chase after women. Competitive instincts at their core prepare to go into the depths of a woman's mind as we unveil the techniques that would not only captivate her, but also revolutionize the way you are ready to become the man she can't stop thinking about after dating for eternity. Let's get started, and don't forget to like and comment if you think this content is helpful. And click to subscribe for more tips that will make your dating life even better. She's fascinated. Imagine that you have been pursuing her like a child after a dream for all of your life. The one who always makes the first move and reaches out, always creating oneself accessible every morning. You send that text, and you confirm your whereabouts where she may be thinking that she may see you. Yet one day, you simply cease not caring. No more trying to accidentally run into her. No more good morning texts. As though you've vanished from her existence, and for an instant, all that's left for her is quiet. What do you do now? What will happen next is where pulling causes a full change in the dynamic, because you're breaking the typical pattern which she's grown so used to. Your mind is racing. What happened? Why did he stop? And why have you become so mysterious? Anything that remains unexplained and that she is unable to fully comprehend, my friends, is where intrigue starts to become apparent. This change is in perfect harmony with the Stoic principles advise letting things happen naturally rather than trying to exert control. Human nature is inquisitive without being anxious for a certain result, particularly when things doesn't work out the way you had planned, and you give up when you give her less of your attention, as she begins to worry about you and will occasionally check her phone to see if perhaps she misread a communication you sent her, or she might hear your name spoken in passing, and pay closer attention, wondering why the balance changed so quickly. Has changed, and she's the one left wondering now that you're not the one in pursuit. Where have you gone? What are you doing? And why are you not looking for her anymore? Consider this. The more you pursue someone, the more they perceive that you give them all control when you're in control, but you stop when you retreat. Actively looking for approval, amazing things happen and you take back control. Now that you're not pursuing her, she's thinking about you more because your absence has made room for her. Curiosity to blossom, it's there that she starts to question whether or not she missed. Whether you've moved on to something else, or if you somehow lost interest in her, something or someone else. This is a reflection of the pursuit of Stoic knowledge in and of itself. Pursuing their favor all the time is an indication of attachment, yet when you distance yourself and stop depending on her for attention, you not only do you get rid of the chase anxiety, but you also grow more. While doing so, your assurance and confidence come through, because you may now feel secure in who you are without needing her approval. This is the real deal. Kicker. When you stop chasing something, people are drawn to what they can't easily get. She'll find herself thinking about you more and more when you become that unresolved mystery. Not because, although you seem to be playing mind tricks, she finds you intriguing and wonders whether you've taken charge of the story by just allowing her curiosity take the lead and complete the missing pieces, and in doing so, you've become the most captivating. She will notice a change in her day, and soon enough, she will be the one. following you in an attempt to understand why she keeps thinking about you, and that, my friends, is how you become the one who turns things around without even trying. Conundrum. She hopes to solve in order to shake the mystery she can't fully shake by ceasing to require. The more you concentrate on yourself, the more you turn into the man she finds herself drawn to, and your own tranquility, the more alluring you grow. Second, she begins to think about this. Something fascinating starts to happen when you take a step back, to realize that your absence is actually sensed by her. It acts as a catalyst, causing her to think about her actions in ways she may not have before. Even if you've held up a mirror, forcing her to view herself differently for the first time, suddenly she begins to wonder if she was dismissive enough of every single detail. Did she seem indifferent in her replies when she may have planned? Or did she laugh at your jokes are a tad too forced, and she begins to question whether her actions were? This is where it becomes intriguing for her, which is part of the reason you've backed away. Her head turns into a courtroom, and she is both the judge and the defendant. Review dialogues, scrutinizes each text, and analyzes previous exchanges, searching for hints. Did she say something incorrectly, or was her demeanor too chilly? Not just a fleeting idea. Rather, she starts with a thorough introspective approach. To examine herself from an angle she hadn't considered previously, she's the history of your partnership. And in doing so, she is compelled to make a difficult, observe her behavior, attitude, and even emotional state available. Although the reason this occurs is because of the void your absence has caused. Emptiness, a silence where there used to be continual pursuit. This emptiness causes her question oneself as well as the connection, and this is where the wisdom of Stoicism involves taking a step back, exercising emotional restraint, and detachment from the essential tenets of Stoicism, rather than responding to her behavior by pursuing or attempting to resolve issues you've decided to concentrate on. As Epictetus remarked, we cannot choose. You are not motivated by a need for validation or approval from others, our external environment, but we always have a choice in how we react to it. You've decided to let her make her own discoveries rather than pursuing her, and this change frequently leads her to self-improvement. She comes to the unexpected realization that she might not have been as involved as she should have been, or that she's ignored your interest, maybe realizing that she didn't try hard enough. And now that you've given her some room, she's starting to make changes. By reflecting, she can learn to become more conscious of how she's handling you and others. And that's the beauty of relationship stoicism. You're letting her come to these conclusions independently, without the necessity for coercion or forced conclusion. You're living your best life and concentrating on your personal development while she's going through this phase. And objectives. Rather than waiting for her to return, you're living up to the Stoic concept of perseverance going forward. No matter what happens, this is a strong position to be in, since you've gotten good at detaching and self-control, knowing that, after everything is said and done, your worth comes from within, not from her approval. When you see her again, you'll probably notice that she's changed. She's more interested and involved, grateful, and maybe even more attracted to you than before. For whatever reason, since her absence gave her time to think and realize what she might be missing. It's a win-win scenario where both of you have improved and matured. And now, remember that the situation has changed in your favor when you stop chasing her. By exercising mental fortitude and being generous, you're actually gaining the upper hand and not losing anything. The core of Stoic force in her is giving her the chance to think and develop. Partnerships allowing you both to change and letting go of the impulse to chase. Being better versions of yourself, let's pause before moving on to the following point. The effectiveness of this strategy by accepting emotional restraint and detachment. You're putting into practice one of the most potent Stoic ideas. Your worth originates from within. It isn't dependent on approval from others. If this message speaks to you on a deep level, please share your ideas with me. Write your experiences in the comments section below, or just put, "My value." Originates from within me. What makes this are your reflections and ideas. Stronger community, and I am grateful to each and every one of you for joining me on this path. Let's go on to the third point. She acknowledges her sentiments. Picture yourself making an effort in every situation while circling about in an attempt to get someone's attention. Dialogue, every gesture, every instant. Yet you don't give up out of annoyance or failure, but rather because you've reached a profoundly ingrained realization. In Stoic wisdom, you've given her something she didn't expect, the freedom to stop pursuing you. When I really consider you, everything transforms. It's like a change in the air. There's an abrupt, hardly noticeable change, and you're not there as she doesn't always have your full focus. And as a result, the dynamic flips when you take a step back. It's like you've lit a light in her brain, light that she was unaware of, and she starts to experience something she hadn't felt before, to realizing the feelings she had been suppressing. On the surface, Stoicism, which teaches us to let go, is closely related to this idea of what we are powerless over and concentrate on our inner selves, our own deeds, and our own actions. When you give up chasing something you're no longer dependent on, an outside result like her responses or attention, but you put more emphasis on yourself, developing your inner calm, inner strength, and sense of value. While doing so, you give her space to consider how she really feels about you now that you're... She didn't need to think because she was constantly there, making plans, texting and calling, regarding how much your presence meant to her. In fact, she might have taken it for granted. However, now that you're gone, a void has appeared, and nature detests empty. So she begins to become aware of what she had missed. Those insignificant times when your words brought a smile to her face, the comfort she felt knowing. It feels as though you paused a movie while you were there, and now she's reliving in her mind all the highlights. Those instances that were too simple to forget when you were around. This is the source of true power, as Marcus Aurelius frequently stated, and the obstacle. What is impeding progress becomes the path by taking a step back. You've set everything up such that she will realize how much you meant to her when you're not around. Begins to think, perhaps she finds herself grinning at a joke you spoke, or maybe she sees how much quieter her phone is now that you aren't messaging her every time. Little realizations accumulate one after the other to produce a potent. It's crucial to keep in mind that you added worth to her life, something she didn't realize until after you passed away. That this process is sluggish, like to a smoldering fire, and that it doesn't happen instantly. When it finally takes off, she might start daydreaming about you and wondering who you're with, and, more importantly, why you're not there are your decisions. Begins to experience the pang of absence, which compels her to face her own. The fact that she is coming to this conclusion solely based on her feelings is the finest part. It's not necessary to persuade her or alter her viewpoint. It's occurring as a result of you giving her the room to experience it, gentlemen. The secret to winning her heart could lie in the quiet approach rather than in the persistent attention and effort. The ability to stand aside and allow her to process her own feelings. When she had you and that epiphany, let her know what a treasure she had. Strikes, it will have greater impact because it's her choice rather than something you exerted control over yourself and the others. This is the power of Stoicism in action. Will be placed in position number 4 when assessing your worth. when you step back and cease pursuing her acceptance or focus. Something significant starts to happen, and you start to feel like a unique and valuable find that everyone discovers all of a sudden. However, the main distinction in this case is because once you stop chasing after her, you both begin to realize or imagine your actual worth if you were constantly available and present. It was simple for her to take you for granted. Perhaps she didn't realize the full extent of what you were providing, but now that you've distanced yourself, it's like you've shined a light on all the ways you improved her life, so that she is now more aware of your presence than lack. And that lack speaks louder than any words could ever say all at once. Those traits she disregarded start to stick out. Perhaps it's the way you always made her giggle when she was having a rough day, or how you understood precisely how to help her while she was experiencing. Perhaps it's the modest yet kind acts, like recalling her favorite now that she's on her own, singing to her, or getting her favorite snack when she needs comfort. As she contemplates the innumerable ways you enhanced her life in ways she would never have completely understood valued before, it seems as though she's reviewing her experiences, and it's getting harder to overlook the little gaps where you used to be. Delicate moments of intimacy, secret jokes, impromptu texts, and the knowing looks. What was previously routine is now playing on repeat in her head from across the room. What she yearns for, yet from a Stoic standpoint, this change is only about, it's about you recovering your sense of self after she notices your absence. Self-worth, by taking a step back and giving up on seeking approval, you're putting a fundamental Stoic idea into practice, appreciating who you are and refusing to base your identity or happiness on the opinions of others. Acceptance is about realizing that, not about controlling her feelings. Your value isn't determined by the amount of love or care you can receive from another person when you give up chasing after her and take charge of your own story, and while you're out there investing in your own ventures and living life on your terms, happiness focused on your development and achieving your objectives. She's realizing, regardless of how much you were a part of her happiest moments, she begins to miss those times. Were the one person she could trust, the one who brought joy, encouragement, and adding coziness to her life without expecting anything in return. What's taking place is, because you choose to go forward rather than pleading for her attention, that she's starting to recognize your importance. Go and allow her to sense the emptiness so as you're out having fun, learning about life, and growing. She's beginning to see something that she might not have seen previously. You were an important part of her life and her trust, not just a choice. When that dawns on me, my friend, it's as though she's made a discovery. Genuinely valuable. A jewel that has always existed but has only recently come to light, and you stopped running. But now that you realize where your strength is, she's the one who is beginning to pursue as we proceed to the next point. Let's pause to think about the influence of realizing your value and letting go so that others can do the same when you cease rather than only regaining your value. You're pursuing and concentrating on yourself. If this strikes a chord with you, I urge you to hit the like button because you are taking charge of your life and your happiness. Click, then leave a comment with your ideas or experiences. If this message really gives you a sense of empowerment, click go ahead and type I manage my life below. And together, let's continue to flourish. We've all heard the expression that, together, number 5 increased attraction. Despite the cliché that says absence makes the heart grow fonder, there's deep truth to it. But when you take a step back and mix it with the wisdom of Stoicism, you uncover something much more profound. Not only can you create absence, but also fascination, mystery, and most importantly, a sense. Okay, let's dissect this. Suppose that you're no longer continuously. Instead of trying to impress her or contacting her, you've turned your attention to your objectives, aspirations, and self-improvement from a Stoic perspective viewpoint. This is where your actual power resides. You're no longer motivated by the want for her emotional support or reinforcement that you're grounded in. Your mission and your quiet assurance communicate a lot without you having to say anything. Single word. Imagine how she sees this and make sure you're not blowing up her phone. When going above and beyond to gain her acceptance, you've turned into someone who isn't easily accessible, and all of a sudden, curious, she begins to wonder, what? What are you doing with your time? Are you going after your dreams, putting money into your interests, profession, or both? The more enigmatic you become, it into a riddle, and believe me, nothing piques curiosity like an unresolved puzzle. This distance enables her to visualize you in her thoughts. As she begins to perceive you differently and notices attributes that could have been eclipsed by your previous pursuit, so your absence allows her to consider all the features that initially drew her attention were your charisma and ambition. She almost seems to be seeing you in a new light because of your ability to make her laugh. A light that becomes brighter now that you're not chasing after her. The Stoics remind us that outside circumstances, such as the acceptance or rejection of while there are people we cannot control, we can control how we react and behave. And our perspective, by taking a step back, you're exercising this control and demonstrating because contentment and happiness aren't reliant on her presence. This is very potent. A representation of independence, self-worth, and inner tranquility that are magnetic on their own as you stop feeling the need to pursue her. Amazingly, she begins to sense the change. Perhaps she's become accustomed to being the center of your universe, and now that you're focusing on something else, she starts to feel your absence leaves a gap, and in that void, her attraction to you deepens. Begins to wonder why you're not there, where you are, and what you're doing. Solving that mystery draws her in further, but it goes beyond what she imagines that you will send a clear and valuable message when you give up seeking you. You yourself aren't prepared to forfeit your honor or respect for. Here's when the Stoic mindset shines. You maintain your composure and ignore everyone else. Calm and unaffected by her approbation, you are concentrated on the things you can control and live your own life. Growth, which is more powerful than any words or ostentatious displays ever could over time. She'll start to miss you and notice everything about you that once captivated her interest. Perhaps it's because you always appear to know precisely what to say, or the poised assurance with which you walked around. Perhaps it's your fuel, your giggles, or the times you two connected while you were away. All of these attributes get more vivid and appealing, and she will start to notice this is the point at which the paradox of attraction becomes apparent to you, gentlemen. It is often the case that doing nothing is perhaps the most powerful course of action. Pursuing her, but you let her approach you by not giving her too much attention. You foster an environment where her curiosity develops naturally without your intervention. It ranks 6th in her priorities. Consider it. She might not notice the small changes you make to her everyday routine when you're usually present. Perhaps she took for granted the comfort and happiness that talks, or your presence offered her, was always reachable as soon as you leave the quiet you leave behind. Makes her think, and she begins to consider what's missing. And more significantly, the reason she didn't value it earlier isn't just psychological. It's additionally a real-world example of the Stoic principle of letting go of what you cannot control. Stoicism imparts this lesson by emphasizing oneself and avoiding attachment your happiness to other people's deeds. You take a step back and regain control. You're just providing her the room to realize your value for herself. you're not playing with her feelings. For instance, if you've been texting her all the time, you're always the first to initiate. She may become used to it and believe that you will always be there for her. But when you cease being absent, she notices and begins to wonder why you haven't inquired as to why she doesn't receive the same comfort or joy from you messages. This causes a change in her thinking, possibly making her think more about you. Even the precise care she used to ignore when her focus shifted to encompass. It's evident that she values you now that it's not just a matter of passing interest. The crucial element is that they value you and are prepared to invest in you. This change wouldn't have occurred if you hadn't retreated by accepting Stoic wisdom and relinquishing the desire to seek her acceptance. You let her acknowledge your value on her own and in her own time. When a woman starts to change her attention to you, it's a strong indication that she's not only intrigued, invested, and this reordering of priorities only occurs occasionally. When you give up pursuing her and let her approach you, keep in mind that occasionally the best course of action is to take a step back, let go, and have faith that what's meant for the fear of losing you is number 7, which you will discover. Imagine this. Everything changes the instant you stop pursuing her. It's as if you change the course of events so that she is no longer assured of your relentless pursuit. Instead of it being a game where you were attempting to get her attention, it's now her wondering why you're not interested in her. Pursuing this change causes a profound fear of losing you. When something we're used to abruptly changes, our bodies naturally react. Since it now feels like we could lose it, we begin to value it more. Strong psychological dynamic based in the desire for what we are unable to achieve in life readily obtain. And as you distance yourself, you generate that scarcity and turn into a mystery, a valuable item that isn't readily available anymore. All of a sudden, she's considering you more frequently. You've changed from being dependable and accessible to elusive, and this uncertainty piques her interest, so she might begin constantly checking her phone. When she doesn't receive a message from you as often as she had hoped, she starts to question whether she made a mistake. In the event that she said or did something to push you away, the fear of the idea of Stoicism blends in here as the feeling of losing you grows. Into this circumstance, by giving up on her, you've demonstrated your influence over your feelings, that your value is independent of her approval of you. Stoic idea of being unaffected by the result rather than reacting. Whether you're attempting to manufacture an emotional connection or create an aura of cool detachment, indicates that you comprehend your situation, not that you don't care. Value, and you're not prepared to plead with someone to pay you attention, then what occurs? Next, her constant fear of losing you motivates her to take action when there isn't. When your pursuit becomes abundantly clear, she begins to sense a change in her, try to rekindle the connection by reaching out more and sending more texts. Becomes the one making the effort to keep the relationship going in a way that she reflects the vigor you formerly displayed. Attempting to hold on to what she believes is going away. Consider how this conforms to Stoic wisdom by taking a step back and letting her recognize the worth you have given her the space to see what she stands to lose this time, of what she had when you were totally committed. Is about realizing the natural balance of, instead of manipulating relationships, when you give up chasing her, you're not just having fun, you're just concentrating on your personal development, well-being, and tranquility while doing so. She has the opportunity to improve because, to you, this change is significant, but it comes with being a Stoic requires you to lead with dignity rather than with the intention of the goal of controlling. When you step back, isn't to trick her into caring, but to remind yourself that recognizing your value comes before receiving approval from others in order to be happy and giving up on things that don't benefit you once you quit chasing after her. Give her the chance to think about what it means to have you gone and to fear not having you there. The fear of losing you ultimately works because she has you in her life, showed that you're whole on your own and that you don't need her to complete you, and that's where, if this concept resonates with you, the true power is found. Please share your ideas in the comment section below if you have ever gone through this change in your own life. If that message resonates with you, tell a tale or just write, "I'm whole on my own." Don't. For more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Your support will be greatly appreciated as we move forward. Examining these potent ideas collectively, let's go on to the next, point number 8. When you were the one who was always the one, it ignited her competitive spirit. Chasing her, she had the upper hand and could relax and take it all in. The focus without having to do anything, but the moment you take your hand off the game, the power changes. Whole now. Rather than you asking for her approval, she finds herself in a situation she is now conscious that winning your love is about more than just getting your attention, which is why she feels the need to do. That other ladies would catch your eye, which would set her on fire. It's crucial to understand that this competitive drive isn't solely motivated by jealousy, though that may be a contributing factor. But fundamentally, she is trying to demonstrate something to herself. That she is the one deserving of your focus, time, and effort. She will realize she can't take your interest for granted the instant you stop chasing after her. Might begin to observe little but noteworthy behavioral changes in her. When she knows she'll be meeting you, maybe she makes an extra effort to look nice. Maybe she's displaying a renewed enthusiasm for the activities you like, such as sports, music, or even those peaceful. She's attempting to establish herself in your life in the areas you enjoy visiting, in the hopes of remind you of the reasons you initially found her attractive. In other words, she's transforming into a female version of yourself. Ironically, the farther you retreat, the more she would feel like you were chasing her, forced to get closer, but this is where things really get great. Not only does her competitive spirit drive her to win you back, but it also brings out the finest in her. She's not just vying for your attention, but also pushing herself to reach her full potential. Whether she realizes it or not, she begins leveling out of herself in the process. Increasing the effort she makes to win you over also makes her a better person. Is when Stoic philosophy's knowledge is put to use. It educates us the strength of self-control, tolerance, and acceptance of our limitations, only ourselves, by deciding to take a back seat and refusing to allow. You have a calm, confident demeanor, yet your emotions are driving you to pursue her non-stop. That is unfalsifiable. You demonstrate to her that your worth originates from within, not from her approval. Trying to get her approval increases your attractiveness as you lean in back. You give her room to interact with you, and you cease to tolerate your desire for her. Allowing her to control how you behave is demonstrating to her that you are not pursuing her, that you are happy with your identity and current situation in life. Her competitive spirit is sparked by her indifferent demeanor, which helps her understand that in the end, you've changed into someone else if she doesn't act something unexpected, someone deserving of her pursuit and fight because you've emerged as the winner in a game she was unaware she was playing. And gentlemen, her competitive spirit will push her to accept the challenge. Sometimes, letting her come to her own terms with you is the most effective thing you can do. By doing this, you not only encourage her competitive spirit, but also exemplify the Stoic ideal of self-assurance and inner serenity. You're not chasing anyone. All All you're doing is letting the universe happen on its own terms, and in this area, she will either rise to greet you or give you the opportunity to leave, knowing that, as we come to an end, your value was never reliant on her. In today's conversation, keep in mind that the secret to capturing a woman's attention frequently resides in taking a step back. By doing so, you change the dynamic and also give Stoicism tells us that real self-control and self-worth come from inside. Strength originates from inside, and by putting your attention on who you are rather than what you might naturally become, you more appealing you give her room to think, and frequently she'll understand what she has been missing, that this is about more than just playing games. When you quit looking for something, act with confidence and respect for yourself. When you feel validated by others, you take back control of your life and appear composed. A confident presence that entices others to come in if this message spoke to you. Drop. Please leave a comment below with your ideas and don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to receive more updates like this and don't forget to visit the suggested films to help you further on your path to being an expert at. I appreciate you watching Attraction and I'll see you in the future video.